Hey guys, it's Amber. So today's video I'm going to talk about nose contouring. And I'm not talking about nose contouring for those of you who just have really straight, narrow noses. I'm talking about nose contouring for those of you who have larger noses, if you have noses with a bump, or if you have more of a bulbous nose, which is where it's smaller at the top, bigger at the bottom. If that's the type of nose you have, then this is going to be a video that can be helpful to you, hopefully. So there's a very predominant technique in nose contouring, which is basically drawing the two straight lines down. And that works if you just want to slim your nose and you just have a straight nose. But for those of us who have other things going on, it's nice to know some different techniques. I'm also going to share some do's and don'ts that I personally do just with my personal appearance to help minimize the appearance of my nose. Now, I have already done one nose contouring video in the past, and that was a little bit different and explained a little bit more of my emotional side of how I felt about my nose and nose contouring and stuff like that. So I'll link that down below. I also did a video about bullying and plastic surgery and kind of my opinions on that, and I will link that one as well. So if you guys are interested in knowing more about my thoughts about this, then you can check out those videos. So first of all, I try to do things with my daily appearance that I know are going to help minimize the look of my nose. I know with makeup, it is all about shadows, it's all about illusions. There's no amount of nose contouring that's gonna make my nose look small. Like, that's just the way it is. There's no amount of contouring that is going to take away my bump. I mean, it's going to maybe shadow it from the front, so in pictures and stuff like that, it looks a little slimmer, but as far as like, if you have a large bump, I mean, there's no way to really contour that from the side that is gonna make a huge difference. Also, I don't think it's necessary to contour your nose every day. I'm not someone who contours my nose every day. So if you watch my videos and you think, Amber, you don't contour your nose a lot, you're right, I don't contour my nose a lot. Sometimes when I do really full glam looks and I'm really heavily contouring the rest of my face, yeah, I'll go ahead and contour. But this isn't something that I do every day because I don't feel like it's necessary, and I've become okay with how I look, and I feel like the first thing you need to do is just accept yourself for how you are. And if you accept yourself for how you are and you love yourself regardless, it's something you can do to help improve the appearance in photos or if you have a special night out, but it's not going to hopefully make or break how you feel about yourself, because you need to work on your inner self first before anything on the outside is ever going to help you. A couple things I do is I try to make my hair a good balance for my face. Now, when you have a nose that protrudes, you have a more convex profile. And sometimes when you have like a larger forehead and you have a larger chin, you have a concave profile, which would go like this. The kind of profile most people are trying to achieve is just a straight profile. So one way that I fake having more of a straight profile is by adding bangs. Now, I've had fuller bangs like I have now, which I just cut recently. I've also had side bangs, but let me just show you the difference. When I turn to the side and I have bangs and they have a little bit of volume, it gives a little bit of substance out here. So it gives the overall appearance that my nose doesn't stick out quite as far as it does when I take my bangs away. Now, when I remove my bangs, say I just had my hair slicked back in a ponytail, suddenly what do you see? You just see my nose. It's kind of crazy, but it really is. Like, all of a sudden, you know, you don't see anything else, you just see this nose. But once I put those bangs down, it softens that a little bit, and I think it gives it a little bit more proportion to my face. Another thing is you can wear your hair in proportion to your body size. So for those people who are petite and have petite features, sometimes when their hair is too big, it can kind of overtake them and make their head look small and not look proportioned to their body. Same thing with body type and size. When you have a larger face or a larger nose, you can get away with having a little bit more volume and more length to your hair because it helps, again, with the balance. So, I mean, I've got more volume and stuff in my hair now. You know, you're gonna see the overall picture. It's gonna look a little more balanced, like I said, where I don't like to wear my hair back quite as much because then it doesn't give anything else to balance on the sides, and I feel like it does draw a little more attention to my nose. So in that case, you know, wearing a sparkly necklace or a bright lip or some dingly earrings, something like that will help give you some balance to your face. Another thing you can do to help with the size of your nose if you're insecure with it is just play up your other features. Now, right now, because I'm gonna do this tutorial, all I have on is foundation. That is it. But playing up your eyes, putting on false eyelashes, I feel like really does help me give me some balance to my face. It's not something I do very often because, again, I don't find it necessary, but when I really want that glammed up look, that is something that I think gives my face a nice balance. Other thing is to remember is don't forget to fill in your brows, make sure you have a nice strong brow to give a frame to your face, and also don't forget the power of a popped lip. So getting a nice bright color on your lip can really help just make your smile really gleam, or just draw attention to what features you really like on your face. If you really like your cheekbones, go for a nice contour. If you really like your eyes, go for a nice cat eye. Pick something that you do really love about your face and highlight that, and that is going to be what people notice first. Also, just smiling. If you're a happy person, if someone looks at you and they think your nose looks big and you're a happy person, screw them, okay? Like, honestly, that's what I said in my other video. Who cares? Like, you don't need that kind of negativity in your life, okay? So just be happy. Your personality will shine through. That will make you just look radiant and beaming no matter what you put on your face, whether you have makeup on or not. A couple other things that I do is, first, when I'm applying my foundation, I make sure that I use a pore filler. If you have a larger nose and you have a lot of blackheads and a lot of big pores, sometimes that just exacerbates the problem and makes you feel a little more self-conscious. So one thing I did use today was the NYX pore filler. Also, you can use the Benefit Professional. This is just a cheaper option than this. This is a high-end from Benefit. And I just put on a regular primer and then I just pat it into the pores. And that way right here where I have some acne scars and larger pores, my foundation isn't sinking into it and it doesn't just draw attention and make it a little bit more noticeable on my nose. The next thing I do is, if I'm going to contour my face, is I use a lighter weight foundation. I don't think it's necessary to go in with a really, really heavy foundation and then contour, because you're putting product on top of product on top of product, which can make your face look more cakey. So I went with the NARS Sheer Glow today. This is one of my favorite foundations. It's one I wear a lot because it does give me a nice coverage, but I don't think it's so thick that once I start contouring and stuff that I've just got this like layer of product on my nose, which is in turn not gonna look the best that it can. I'm going to get a lot of coverage from using a concealer and other things when I'm contouring, so I don't need to go with a super, super full coverage foundation. Next thing I do is I don't powder my face before I contour. In my last video, I used all creams, and so in this one, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to use Drugstore products, and I'm going to be using a concealer, and I'm going to be using a contour palette from Wet n Wild. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get a contour shade that works for you. Just find something suitable from the drugstore and make sure you go with something that isn't too dark for your skin tone, and you want to make sure it's not too warm. Because you don't want it to look like your nose is orange. You also want to make sure, again, it's not too cool. You want to find something that's a nice balance for you because you don't want it to look like your nose is just dirty. But this, I mean, is under $5, I believe, so you don't have to go out and buy a really expensive palette to be able to contour your nose. Also, if creams are a little scary for you, try a powder, because sometimes those can be a little bit harder and trickier for people to work with. And so this can be a good way to start. So when you're deciding whether or not to contour your nose, first look at your face shape and see what is it that I want to bring out in my face and what is it that I do want to diminish. So anything that you want to diminish, you want to use the brown shade. Anything you want to highlight, you would use the light shade. Now in theory, I would like to diminish all of my nose, so I would just contour it and not highlight anything. Now on my last video, a lot of people disagreed with me on this and they said that they would just prefer to contour and not highlight anything. If that's how you feel, then go right ahead. You can honestly do anything you want. It's makeup, it washes off. I personally feel like when I just contour my nose, I feel like from far away, it just makes my nose look dirty, and I don't think it gives me the effect that I'm looking for. And there are some people who have very large noses who actually feel like sometimes contouring it makes it stand out more. So it's just finding what works for you and sticking with it. And honestly, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. I think there's just things that work for some people, some things that work better for other people. I'm sharing what works for me. If you're similar to me, maybe it'll work for you too. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the areas that I want to highlight and then areas I want to diminish, like I mentioned. So for me, I actually am wider down at the tip than I am at the top. So this is a good area for me to highlight. So I'm going to highlight through here on my brow bone. I'm also going to highlight my inner corners, where a lot of people take that line and they go all the way up into the brow. That's going to make this part of my nose look really skinny, and in turn it's going to make this part look a little bit bigger. So if I can open my eyes up a little bit and highlight this whole area, it's going to help create more of a straight profile and bring a little bit more balance to my face. I'm also going to highlight underneath my eyes, and when I highlight underneath the eyes, I am not going to stop right here. you can see where it's a little bit shadowed there. I'm actually gonna bring the highlight up a little bit further to make it appear like this part of my nose is actually part of my face like this. Next, I'll probably want to just highlight down the bridge of my nose, even though it seems counterproductive because you don't want to bring it forward. I feel like if I don't put a little bit of highlight there, then it's just gonna make my nose look all brown, and that's just not a look that I personally prefer. So I will just do a little bit of highlight down the nose, but I do not like to use anything shimmery personally because I feel like, one, it brings out and accentuates the pores, and two, it makes my nose really pick up the light, and I don't personally like having shimmery things drawing my nose out. I feel like that does kind of detract from what I'm trying to do. The next thing I want to do is I want to kind of slim this area of my nose, but I also want to highlight my nostrils so that you can see here a little bit, but you don't just focus on this part. So I'll highlight down here, and then I'll highlight just a little bit on my nostrils to bring those out. So for contouring, I have a bump right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to contour on both sides of the bump to draw that in. I'm not going to take the line all the way up, and I'm not going to take the line all the way down. I'm just going to contour right here on the sides of my bump just to shadow where that is to help minimize the appearance of the bump on my nose. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the contour down the sides here a little bit and just kind of bring that down and help shadow where my bump of my nose is. Then I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to shorten it a little visually by pulling it out straight like this. And then I'm going to actually do a V right here on the tip. So that's kind of my game plan. It's nice to kind of have a game plan before you start, so you're not just like drawing random brown lines on your face and you're like, well, where is this going? What am I doing with my life? And I don't know that it necessarily matters whether you contour or you highlight first. I think it can be a personal preference. So do whatever feels best to you. Try it out both ways and see what you like. So for right now, I'm just gonna start out with my contour. This is the contouring kit in Caramel Toffee. So next, when picking your brush, pick something thin that isn't gonna make the line too thick. In the past, I've also used just art brushes that are really skinny. Today, I'm just gonna use just a small flat shader brush to help draw the fine detail on my nose. And then I'm gonna blend it out with this Morphe brush right here. And I'm just gonna kind of push the product up and blend it. And I'm not gonna drag it down too far again because I wanna keep that part highlighted right there. The closer together you put your lines, the more narrow your nose is gonna look. So I'm not going up, I'm just gonna shadow right on both sides of my bump. Next, I'm gonna take it down the side. And then down onto the nostril. All right, now for doing the tip. And then for the tip of my nose, I'm actually going to draw a V right here. All right, now I'm gonna use this brush to blend, and I'm just gonna kind of pat it. I don't wanna wipe too much because I don't wanna pull my foundation off, but I just wanna work that in and blend it in and up. And softly blend. As you can see, none of the lines that I've made are super dark or super harsh. I just want this to be a nice subtle shadowing. I want it to look natural. I don't want it to look like I've tried to draw a new nose on my face. After my last video, people would say, your nose looks the same. I'm like, well, you do realize it's the same nose, right? It's not going to make your nose look like you had a nose job completely. It's just gonna help slim and shape it a little bit. So you can see how now my nose is looking quite brown. See, if I just did this, I'm just not personally a fan of that look. Okay, I will blend a little bit more once it's all done. But for now, I'm gonna take this NYX HD concealer. This is in the shade Fair. And I'm gonna use this for my contour shade. Both of these products are really affordable, which is great. So first of all, I'm going to just do under my eyes. And I'm gonna take the concealer over on the sides of my nose. Where you normally would stop, I'm gonna pull that over. Now taking a dampened beauty blender, I'm just going to pat that out. This will help highlight my cheekbone, pull that up, cover any dark circles, and highlight that side of my nose. When I'm doing this, it kind of helps blend those two shades together right there as well. So you can see the brightness that I'm getting there and how it helps kind of with that shadow right there, kind of help bring it in a little bit. Now I like to apply my highlight in sections so that way it doesn't sit too long and set with this kind of concealer, because I don't want to start pulling foundation or pulling product. So I want to make sure that I just work in my sections. Okay, next I'm going to highlight the inner corner of my eyes right here. Help open that up. I'm going to go up on my forehead right there. If you had a mini blender, this would be a great place to use it. All right, next I'm gonna do it down at the center of my nose. I'm gonna be careful not to get too much product, so I'm gonna wipe my doe foot applicator off because I wanna brighten it and make it look even with the rest of my face, but I don't wanna overpower the contour that I've done. So just slightly down the center of my nose, and then just highlighting a little bit of my nostrils right here. And that's what I'm gonna do. Again, I'm just gonna balance that beauty blender and blend that right out. Okay, see now how that nose looks like it's part of my face instead of looking like my nose is a different color than the rest of my face? And once you're done, of course, you can add a little bit more to your personal preference. And then I just kind of bounce my beauty blender all over just to kind of finish blending that out. See, when you look to the side, you shouldn't be able to see a harsh line. You don't want to see a drawn line, but when you look to the front, you just see a little more shadowing right there on the nose. Then to set everything, I can go back in, wipe my little contour brush off here, and I'm gonna just go into the powder and just set that. Also, it's great to use a setting spray afterwards. I don't have one with me currently, but if you have a setting spray, it'll help take down the powderiness so everything just looks like skin instead of just looking like powder on your face. And then I'll use the same to set under my eyes. Now to bring balance to the rest of my face, I will go ahead and contour a little bit on my cheeks. I'm not going to do anything too dramatic, but I am just going to take a larger fluffy brush. This is the e.l.f. blending brush, and I'm just going to softly warm up the sides of my cheeks here. That way, having color and shadow on my nose is going to look more natural, or if you don't shadow anything on your face, it's going to be like, well, how come the shadow's on your nose but there's not shadows on the rest of your face? That makes sense. And I don't necessarily need to contour my forehead because I don't really need my forehead to look smaller. So I just contour the sides a little bit and on the cheeks and a little bit under the jawline just to make that color look more natural. So here's the finished look of my nose contour, and I'll check back with you when I have the rest of my makeup on so I can show you the completed look. All right, so here is my finished look with my makeup. So now that all my makeup is done, you can see that the contouring and highlighting fits in with the rest of my face and really makes sense, and it looks balanced. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it's helpful for you. If it was, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I always love hearing your thoughts in the comments, so feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you contour? Do you not? Do you think it's necessary? Do you have any tips and tricks that work for you? Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! And I sat there and I thought, this is tingling. This is tingling kind of a lot. Okay, I think I need to wash this off. And I took it off and it burned my face. This stuff was horrible. I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. And the worst part of it